First question. When did you realize you were non-binary?
When I was 18, when I first properly heard about it when I was 17, but I was like, oh, that person goes by they them, they're non-binary. Like I was like, okay, good for them. But then I kept hearing it, and I was curious, and I was like, holy shit, that's actually a thing. Because growing up, I kind of had trouble seeing myself as a guy, feeling like as a guy. Like I kind of felt like a video game, but I was kind of like a DLC package. So I'm not the actual part of the group. I'm just like a add on to whatever side I was on. And I was from when I was 13, I was like, could I identify as a trans woman? But it just that didn't work either. So I just was like, I'll stick to cards I've got. But then I never felt properly like a guy. And then when I heard I was 18, I was like, yeah, no, this actually. When I looked into what non-binary was, I was like, yeah, that that's me bang on.
When did you accept the fact that you were non-binary?
I properly once I properly did my research. It took a few weeks before I'd be like, do I tell people this? So I actually told my best friend at the time, Keen Denham, that I was, but he was the only person I told for 3 years. And then it was in my second year of college, I was like, I don't have to stop. I don't have to keep going by the name I was going by. So I decided that I'd test the waters, and everyone was quite receptive. So that in itself was helping me be a bit understanding that people would accept it as well.
How did other people accept you?
Well, the thing is, I was a bit worried about how some family members would react. It's just sort of both with my gender and sexuality, I was a little afraid to test the waters with them, so I actually moved away first, and then when I got drunk and came out through voicemail, so there was that. But for the most part, everyone's been completely accepting. I'd say a huge motivator for what helped me get yeah, like feel like I was fitting in as JoJo was my classmates, because bar one, everyone was extremely understanding. They're very supportive, and that meant the world to me.
Did other people outside of your friend group and family accept you?
For the most part, especially in the creative media industry, there's a majority of LGBT members. So I'd be talking to someone, and they'd be I'd go, actually, I'm identify as non-binary, and then they'd just go, oh, I'm she they, or I'm they them, I'm he they. But just that in itself really made me feel a lot less lonely. When the first I joined the Pride Society shortly after I'd moved up in my third year, and we went to this retreat called Pink Training in Galway, and there I met so many people, and that in itself really was a huge motivator for make me feel like I fit in, and I'd be accepted no matter where I went.
What advice would you give to people who are struggling to come out?
I wouldn't say come out right away. I'd say make sure you're comfortable with who you are coming out to, and making sure that you are doing it in a way that you don't feel like the information will spread faster than you want it to. I was very selective at first with who I told. For example, I told one of my best friends in a very quiet setting, and then I told my other best friend in another quiet, remote setting where no one would overhear us, and then it would be going to the kind of people I didn't want to tell until I felt ready.
Do you think it is difficult for some people to accept someone coming out as non-binary?
I think it is, because I feel there's still the mentality that it's, oh, if even that you're either one or the other. So if you were assigned a man at birth, a male at birth, and then you come out as a trans woman, that would be having a degree of accepting. But with non-binary, it's kind of some people are like, then what are you? But actually, there's over 70 genders which non-binary could stand for. So it's still a bit. People don't completely understand it, and some people think, I think most people believe non-binary is just you identify as a mixture of the two genders, which is not the case. There's some people who identify as no gender at all, agender, a bit of their own gender, which is demigender, and then there's some who identify as both, which is bigender, or pangender, which is where you identify as any and all genders.